us, we have Halya Coynash from the Kharkiv Human Rights Group. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Over the past couple of years, it has emerged that despite sanctions from the European Union and the United States, many international brands continue providing goods and services to the Crimean Peninsula. Could you tell us who these brands are and how are they bypassing sanctions?
Well, there's a range of things. I think the most serious breach of sanctions has been Siemens, which has ignored warnings from everybody for 2 years and has been pretending for 2 years that it is in full compliance. And it's probably the most drastic of the occasions because they have provided gas turbines to Crimea, which is very, very serious because, I mean, Crimea depends on Ukraine, for mainland Ukraine, for energy naturally, and this breach of sanctions is a very serious one, and that one is really a case where they simply continued to say that they were in full compliance with sanctions, and they know nothing about any possible breach, even though they were theoretically providing gas turbines for a plant that wasn't being built. And they knew it wasn't being built. I mean, it was clear from 2016 that they were providing gas turbines for nowhere, unless they were indeed going to Crimea, and they just ignored it. That one is one where I hope the German prosecutor will get involved. At the moment, it's not clear. Other people are using more sort of clever ways around it. I mean, for example, Visa and Mastercard moved out of Crimea, indeed. They were following sanctions. And then Russia brought in a system whereby everybody has to be registered in Moscow. And now Mastercard and Visa are both claiming that they have that they have no control over the situation, that this is all about Russia having taken control over their transactions, and they cannot control whether somebody is actually making those transactions in Crimea or in Russia. I'm personally skeptical about this for 2 reasons. One of them is because those cards don't actually work in the West. So you cannot use them to pay for a holiday in Austria or somewhere. That's number one. And the other reason is simply that I just don't believe that Mastercard and Visa hand over their, I don't know what you call these things, but the sort of logo and the everything that enables a company to say that they have Visa facilities. I don't believe that they do it so easily. I believe that they could have, for example, threatened Russia that if Russia does not prohibit the use of those cards in Crimea, that they would leave Russia. That would be more catastrophic for Russia than for Visa at the end of the day.
Whose responsibility is it to enforce these sanctions, and why aren't they doing so?
Well, this is the problem. I mean, the EU, when you ask them, will say that it's in the business of the individual country. The individual company will say that a country will then say that they seem to pass the I've forgotten what it's called, but they pass the responsibility to somebody else, and nobody seems to be taking full responsibility for this. I mean, I am aware that, well, at least I've been told that the Bavarian prosecutor is considering the case of Siemens. So in principle, there are ways of actually using criminal law within countries. I don't think the EU at the moment has sorted out any reaction that they can take to force a country to then force its companies to abide by these sanctions.
And just quickly moving on to the elections, we are less than a month away from the Russian elections, which will be illegally held in Crimea as well on March 18. We've heard from, so the Kremlin-installed Crimea head Sergei Aksyonov has already alleged that there could be a terrorist threat or possible provocations in the lead-up. What can we expect from the authorities in the coming weeks in the lead-up to the election?
Well, there's already been one person who's been arrested, a Ukrainian, who has joined the very large number of other, I mean, there are probably 66 already known political prisoners, people who have been arrested for reasons that really do not bear scrutiny. And the last one was just Davydenko, I think his name is, was arrested maybe a few weeks ago. And it was just after Aksyonov had talked about this supposed terrorist threat from Ukraine. So there is a possibility, it's frankly, I would say that any Ukrainian from mainland Ukraine traveling to Crimea is in danger at the moment. I think they should be a little bit careful, especially if they have been on Maidan. Mm-hmm. If they think that there are photos of them on Maidan, then they should not go to Crimea at the moment. That's, the one side of the matter that I think, they will probably try to invent some more terrorist threats, sabotage threats, and so forth. It's, it's a good time to do it. It's a way of scaring the population and pushing the propaganda line. On the other hand, it is possible that because this year, there are, first of all, these so-called elections, and secondly, the championship, is it soccer or football? The big one, the thing that Russia should not be hosting this year, which it is hosting. It is possible that actually in the next few months they may try to mellow the amount of other sorts of arrests